The European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, where this weekend the amazing debut season of Lewis Hamilton took yet another dramatic new twist. A huge accident in qualifying yesterday afternoon miraculously left him virtually unscathed and also past fit to race. But he will be starting from the very unfamiliar 10th place on the grid, whereas his championship rivals were at the head of the field. Lewis had come into this race with a 12-point championship lead and a perfect 9 out of 9 record of podium finishes. But what could he do from that 10th place on the grid? And could Kimi Raikkonen on pole position make it 3 wins out of 3? Your commentators for the European Grand Prix, Martin Brundle, and first of all taking us through the grid is James Allen.
It's looking pretty good for Kimi Raikkonen. He has his second pole position of the season. It could have been Alonso's, but he made a mistake on his qualifying lap. He's on the outside of the front row. Massa and Heidfeld make up row 2. Heidfeld in a pretty light BMW. Robert Kubica, his teammate, is just behind in 5th. Mark Webber, a fantastic performance in 6th for Red Bull. Kovalainen again out-qualifies his teammate. He's 7th. Jarno Trulli is 8th for Toyota. The Ralf Schumacher renaissance continues. Lewis Hamilton starts 10th after his accident in qualifying. The 2 Williams are outside the top 10. They're on row 6. Rosberg ahead of Wirtz. Fisichella a bit off form this weekend in 13th. Barrichello is 14th for Honda. The 2 Super Aguris having a fantastic qualifying. Davidson ahead of his illustrious teammate Sato. They make up row 8. Jenson Button in 17th, very frustrated by a lack of grip in his car. Scott Speed alongside him. Liuzzi and a very frustrated David Coulthard down in 20th. At the back, the Spikers have 2 German drivers, Winkelhock making his debut.
The Nürburgring, a challenging circuit with a lot of contour changes. A 3.2 mile lap, average speed 125 miles an hour. Michael Schumacher, a 5 times winner here. They're even naming a chicane after him. We caught up with another local hero, Nick Heidfeld of BMW, to talk about the key points.
Now, Jenson Button clearly took his intermediates early on. They're giving it a twist of front wing. You need a different aero balance. You need a little bit more front wing normally with the intermediate tyres to give you some turn in to the corners.
Okay, let's establish the order as we've lost. I think that's Button. Oh no, Jenson Button was running in 4th place. He has gone off on intermediate tyres. So clearly not even enough grip from those. Winkelhock leads, or does he? Spiker flies off the racetrack. Adrian Sutil.
That's a McLaren.
Is that Hamilton? It is Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton on lap 3 has gone off, along with the Honda of Button and also the looks like the Spiker of Sutil. Did he hit Sutil, I wonder?
No, they're aquaplaning now. There's so much water, the intermediates. Here comes another one, and this is going to get nasty. They're going to have to put the safety car out. What they're doing now is just aquaplaning off the racetrack. The intermediates will not clear sufficient amounts of water, and that is a Super Aguri that might just live for another day. And the rest of them are all deep in the gravel trap, and there'll be more in there yet unless they slow down. But it's crawling pace you need, otherwise you're in a canoe, you're not in a Formula 1 car. Anthony Davison should be able to get reverse and get out of there. I would not be running out there if I were you, gentlemen. There will be other cars in if you're not careful.
6 cars then stranded down at turn 1. One of them is World Championship leader Lewis Hamilton. The safety car has been deployed by race director Charlie Whiting, understandably. Oh, that's a big one. That's one of the Toro Rosso spinning round. It's Tonio Liuzzi who makes gentle contact with the tractor, and these are very dangerous moments for the marshals down there.
Crazy to let anything and anybody out there until they've neutralised the race, because everything's going to arrive backwards. You do not want to be going underneath one of those digger trucks.
Yeah, Winkelhock comes into the pits for some full wet tyres.
It is undrivable.
It's safety car now, safety car, Nick, safety car.
Okay, so Winkelhock's dived into the pits. He had a 19-second lead over Massa and Alonso. who were running in second and third places, and we wait to see exactly what the order is. We've lost at least 6 cars down at turn 1. One of them is Jenson Button. There is Lewis Hamilton, who simply doesn't want to leave his car. He can't believe that he's out of this race. Looks like he may have kept the engine in, has he? Surely not. Yes, he has. Look at that.
Well,
That's incredible.
He's allowed to be moved from a dangerous position. He's kept the engine running. We know those McLarens will tick over for apparently ever. And as he's been moved out of a dangerous place, we saw that happen with Michael Schumacher here, of course, quite controversially actually, and went on to get a result. So I think Hamilton will be fine there.
Yeah, we saw it. He collided with Juan Pablo Montoya a few years ago down at the Dunlop curve, the bottom of the track. And he was able to get a push from the marshals because it was construed as a dangerous place, and rejoin the race. Hamilton will undoubtedly argue the same thing, and he lives to fight another day. Winkelhock, meanwhile, is leading this race, and he's on the full wet tyre. I'm sure a lot of other people will be coming in for that at the moment. That's the order at the moment. As you can see, Winkelhock still leading on his Formula One debut in a Spiker. That's how crazy the opening of this European Grand Prix has become. And obviously no overtaking allowed under the safety car. So that's the order that it will be until this rain is considered safe enough to start again.
This is Massa then heading off the road. Does he get away with that? And behind him there, Button is the first one off then. Button is the first one into the barrier. He'll be followed by another 5 cars as they float. And this is Hamilton with his wheels locked up and just nerves the barrier. He'll get away with that. Luckily, the Spiker missed him completely. And now are they red flagging it? They've red flagged the race.
Well, we're joined from the Spiker pit wall by Mike Gascoigne, the team's technical director. Mike, what an extraordinary start to the race, and Winkelhock, an inspired decision by you, I guess, to bring him in and start from the pit lane.
Yeah, James, we made the call. We saw the shower coming in. We'd had it predicted for sort of 10 minutes after the start, but it was a bit earlier. And obviously with Marcus starting from the back, it was a pretty low risk thing for us, so we went for it and it worked out perfectly.
So he's just come into the pits again, Mike, and presumably has gone to the full wet tyre.
Yeah, that's right. He's gone to the extreme wet, but we've just been red flagged, so that's a shame, but we're still in a good position.
So the race has been red flagged now for the benefit of all the viewers at the home in the UK.
Show a little bit later that he is one of the best overtakers in Formula One these days, but before that came the rain and everyone suffered, didn't they?
The rain came down and it was horrendous and appalling conditions, Steve. You cannot drive an F1 car, especially when you're on dry tyres in these conditions. You aquaplane, you're a passenger. Jenson Button, the casualty of that. Look at the other guys coming off. Lewis Hamilton, there you go, straight off the road. It's not down to the driver, it's just purely there's a lack of grip. You can see the visibility, which is nigh on 0 there. That's what the driver's got to contend with, but it's the grip levels. They've got nothing whatsoever to cope with. Aquaplaning, as I say, Sutil. About 5 cars ended up down there, Steve, and it was atrocious. They had to abort the race at this point.
But when he was in the gravel trap, Lewis had the real presence of mind to keep the engine running. They eventually got himself hooked out and back into the race.
You know, great foresight. He didn't panic. He left the engine just on tick over. Amazing, actually, that the engine actually lasted because it must have been overheating. He did get the crane, picked him up, put him back in contention, as we say. And at this point as well, what happened, the safety car was out there and Lewis actually managed to pull his lap back. He could overtake all the cars in the train, get to the back. But the big problem for Lewis, actually, he made a poor decision. He decided to stay on slick tyres when necessarily he should have been out on wets.
He said it was his call. He owned up to it after the race. What did it cost him, do you think?
I think it cost him a podium. I really do, because his pace was outstanding. He really had a fantastic start. A little bit unfortunate at BMWs, but outright pace, he should have been on the podium.
Meantime, in the dry conditions, Felipe Massa looked unbeatable, didn't he?
He looked unbeatable for sure. I think Kimi Raikkonen was very strong, but went out with problems. Massa took over the fold for Ferrari, led the race and led it convincingly. But until, again, the weather changed. And at the point that the weather changed, then we saw a different Massa, because he just could not get on with his wet tyres in these variable conditions.
Everyone piled into the pits, and Fernando Alonso piled out of the pits. What did you make of this?
Well, a very close call here. They released the McLaren right out into the path of one of the Renaults. But this is the big issue here. You've got the 2 guys there. Alonso trying to get by Massa, and he gets by him convincingly, but Massa none too happy. Moves across slightly. A little bit of a fracas here because Alonso was unhappy with the way that Massa reacted on the track, and they're both unhappy with each other. I think no gratitude whatsoever between the two of them. But Alonso, he's after another World Championship, and he will not let anybody get in his way.
And he will feel now that World Championship is back within his grasp. He feels he might have taken control of the battle once again.
I think definitely he feels now that it's within his grasp, because he's only 2 points away from his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Lewis has had a poor weekend in terms of his excellent record so far, but don't write the McLaren guys off, and do not write Ferrari off. We're wide open with this World Championship.
Mark, thanks very much indeed. Now, if you hadn't had enough excitement for one weekend, here's one more last chance at our ITV F1 competition.
For the ultimate home entertainment experience, Sony is giving away a PlayStation 3 and a 46-inch W-Series Bravia HD-ready LCD TV. Revolutionising entertainment on the move, the prize package also includes a PSP. Both consoles contain copies of the official Formula 1 Championship games. To begin with a chance of winning this great prize, courtesy of Sony, just answer this simple question. Which of these foods is a famous German dish? A. Paella, B. Sauerkraut, C. Moussaka. The number to call is 0901 293 2020 or text F1 plus your answer A, B or C to 63337. Calls cost £1 per entry from a BT landline. Calls from other networks and mobiles may be higher. Text will cost £1 plus the standard network rate. Entrants must be 18 or over and lines will close at 6 p.m. on Thursday the 2nd of August.
Dus is 100 fölfele. 100 fölfele, jobb 2 tempó, 20-ra bal 2 tempó, 25-ra bal 2 tempó, 25-ra bal 2 szűk, és bal 2, majd 50-re jobb 2, itt a bal 2.